Lesson 10, Chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variations. Students, in this video, I'll discuss about the types of chromosome and a very important topic, that is determination of sex, or which is also called as sex determination. Till now, you all have known that chromosome, that is the carrier of genes from one cell to the other or from one generation to the other. Now, on the basis of the presence of gene and its expression, there are two types of chromosome, and those two types of chromosome are autosomes and allosomes, which we commonly called as body chromosomes and sex chromosome. So these two types of chromosome that I have already mentioned while discussing the chromosomal theory of inheritance. Therefore, in this video, let's try to know more about these autosomes and the allosomes and their role in the process of heredity. The basic difference between the autosomes and the allosomes are: the autosomes, they are the somatic chromosomes that determines the somatic characteristics of an organism. In other words, we can say that they determines the characteristics of the body, such as the height, the color, different physiological processes that happens within the body. So all these expressions of a particular individual, so that takes place because of the genes that is present in the autosomes. So these genes which are responsible for forming the body characteristics, and therefore autosomes, they are also called as body chromosomes. Now the other type of chromosome that is found in case of the living organisms, so that is called as allosomes. So allosomes are sex chromosomes that determines the sex and sex-linked inheritance of an organism. So as you know that there are two types of sexes in the living world. One is male, another one is female. And on the basis of the presence and absence of the sexual organs, we find two types of organisms. One is monoecious and another one is dioecious. So monoecious, where the male and the female reproductive organs that is found within the same body, and in case of dioecious organisms, here there are morphological distinctions between the two. That means the male individuals, they will be different, and the female individuals, they will also be different. Now in case of these male and the female individuals, the chromosomes or the pair of chromosome that defines the female characteristics, these are the XX chromosome in case of human being, and in case of male it will be different one. Say for example, in case of human being, the male, they possesses XY as the sex chromosome. So these two chromosomes, they determines the maleness and the femaleness of the individual. So that is why it is said that they are the sex chromosome. That means they determines whether and the individual, it will be male or it will be female. And as I have said that in case of human being, the sex chromosomes, for female it is called as XX, and for male it is called as XY. Then comes the appearance. So in case of autosomes, each pair appears in the similar forms. So in case of autosomes, here all the pairs of chromosomes, so they will be similar in structure. But in case of allosomes, that is the sex chromosome, the pairs may differ from one another. As for example, XX in case of female and XY in case of male. And also in some cases, there may be only one sex chromosome for the female or for the male. So these X and the Y chromosomes, they were discovered by Hanking and Steven. Hanking in the year 1891 discovered an X body in the 50% of the sperms of the firefly, and Y body It was discovered by Stephen in 1902. So when they were doing their experimental work on different insects, one was doing in the firefly and another one it was done in grasshopper. So these two chromosomes, they may differ from one another, or in case of some insects or some other organisms, so they may be same. Then comes the role in determining the sexual characteristics. So here, as discussed earlier, that autosomes, they are not involved in the determination of sex and related characteristics, whereas the allosomes have a significant role in sex determination. Then here an example is given for human beings, that a number in the human genome. There are 22 pairs of autosomes and 1 pair of allosomes, and in that we get 46 chromosomes in a diploid cell. So these are the few differences, simple differences between the autosomes and the allosomes. Now, because of the expression of this sex chromosomes, which is not same in case of two individuals of a particular species, which may be present in the same body or it may be present in the different bodies. So there is establishment of male and a female individuals, or male and a female organs of an individual, which is called as sex determination. Or we can call it to be the process by which the male and the female gametes after fusion produces zygotes, which develop the property of one sex or the other sex, that is male and the female. So that is determined, the maleness and the femaleness for a particular individual, so that will be determined right from the process of the act of fertilization, and the resultant cell, which will be called as the zygote. So the zygote, that only determines the maleness or the femaleness for a particular individual in a particular species. And mostly this will be for those sexually reproducing organisms. So in very simple words, we can say that the establishment of male and a female individuals or male and a female organs in a particular species or for an individual, that is only called the sex determination. So I hope you have understood the definition of sex determination. Now let's come to the mechanism of detection or determination of sex in an individual. So as I have said, that this is determined right after the act of fertilization, after the formation of zygote, when the male and the female gametes diffuse and the zygote is formed. So that zygote only determines whether an individual will be male or female. So this is called as chromosomal determination of sex. So there are various ways, or there are various factors that determines the sex of a particular organism. As for example, it can be environmental one, or it can be the genic balance, that is the genic balance that is upon the number of the autosomes and the allosomes. So that also determines the sex of a particular organism. As for example, in case of Chlamydomonas, which is an algae, so there the sex, it is determined by the number of genes which is present in either the autosomes or in case of allosomes. And as I have said, the first factor, that is the environment. So in case of a sea worm or marine worm, which is called as Bonellia, so there in case of Bonellia, the determination of sex, that whether Bonellia it will be male or female, so that it is determined by the environment. So that is completely dependent upon the environment here. But here in our syllabus, the chromosomal determination of sex that is given, that means whether the sex chromosomes that will be XX or that will be XY, or that will be paired or it will be unpaired. So in that, in today's video, I'm going to discuss about 3 types of chromosomal determination of sex, and those are XX XY method, XXXO method and ZZZW method. Now let's discuss the first method of sex determination, that is XXXY type of sex determination. And here this type, it is found in case of mammals, that includes the human beings, and also many insects. There the Drosophila or fruit fly is also included. Now in case of XXXY type of sex determination, all the chromosomes, they have the even number. That means both the male and the female individual, they will have the same number of chromosome. That is why it is said that both the sexes have got even number of chromosome. Let's take the example of human beings here. Human beings, they have the total number of chromosome as 46. So this 46, it is same for the males as well as for the females. But among this 46 chromosome, there are two types of chromosome which is divided here. That means in case of this 46 chromosome, 44 they will be the autosomes and the 2 that will be the sex chromosome. Now let's come to the sex chromosome, as we are discussing about the sex determination process. Now in case of the females, in this type, the females, they are called as homogametic. And this condition, homogametic, that is when the sex chromosomes are similar. As for example, in case of the female human being, the sex chromosomes, that is called as XX. And when the sex chromosomes, they segregate while forming the gametes, all the gametes, they will be alike. That means 44 plus XX, when this mother cell that will form the female gamete, all the female gametes, they will bear the same type of gametes. That will be 22 plus X. As this 2X, they will segregate in the gametes to form the haploid nature of the gametes. So as the gametes, they all are same, therefore the females are called to be the homogametic. But in case of the males, they are called as heterogametic. And this is because the sex chromosome in case of males, these are not same, they are dissimilar. One is bigger, which is regarded as the X, and the one is smaller, which is called as the Y chromosome. And during the formation of gametes, this X and the Y chromosome, they will segregate or they will separate, and it will be present in different gametes. So here, this heterogametic nature, in the heterogametic nature, they produce two types of sperms. 50% of the sperms, they will bear X chromosome as the sex chromosome, and 50% they will bear the Y chromosome as the sex chromosome. I hope it is clear till here. Now let's discuss this with the help of this cross. So here the parents, as we do the other crosses, so same is here. So parents, here it will be male and the female, as I'm saying about the human being. So this will be easier for you now. So the parents, they will bear 44 plus XX for the female and 44 plus XY for the male. As we know that the females, they are homogametic, therefore the gametes, they will all be same, that is 22 plus X or 22 plus X. They all will be same. And in case of the male, 44 plus XY, so that is the diploid set consisting of 46 chromosome, and when they segregate to form the gametes, so there we find two types of gametes. one bearing 22 plus X and the another bearing 22 plus Y. Now let's see the chances of fusion between these types of gametes. So when the egg, as we know that the egg, they are homogametic, 22 plus X, is fertilized by the sperm which bears 22 plus X. Now when these two types of gametes, the female gamete bearing 22 plus X and a male gamete also bearing 22 plus X, they fuse or fertilize each other, then the resultant individual, it will be female, because here again XX have come together, and the zygote, it will be 44 plus XX. Then let's see the other chance, that is when 22 plus X, as we know that again females are homogametic, so 22 plus X, it fuses with the sperm bearing 22 plus Y. So this 22, these are the autosomes here, and as you know that in case of gametes, the number it becomes haploid, so 22, 44 it becomes 22. So 22 plus Y, so there the zygote, it becomes 44 plus XY, and here the X chromosome from the female have fused with the Y chromosome and that have again resulted into XY, and in that case the resultant individual or the offspring, it will be the male or it will be a boy. So in that way we can determine the sex of a determination of sex in case of human beings, and the same it goes in case of Drosophila. Many invertebrates are there, some fishes are there, and also this is found in case of many plants, which is a common mechanism of sex determination. The second type of sex determination, it is the XXXO type. So this type of sex determination, it is common in case of grasshopper, aphids, honeybees, bugs, and also plants like Dioscorea. Here the female parents, they possess the normal pairs of autosomes and a pair of X chromosome, so which is quite similar to that of the XXXY type, where all the females, they are homogametic and they possess XX as their sex chromosome. But here the males, they have the normal pairs of chromosome and a single X chromosome. So here the sex chromosome, that is not paired. So here in case of the grasshopper, bugs, honeybees, etc., they have only a single sex chromosome. So now let's try to understand this with the help of the cross. In grasshopper, the females, they have 24 chromosomes in their diploid cell. That means 22 plus XX chromosomes in their diploid cell. And the males have 23 chromosomes in their diploid cells. This is because 22, that is the autosome, and there is only one single sex chromosome, which is called as the X chromosome. So that is why the total number of chromosome in the diploid cell, so that is 23, because of the missing of the other sex chromosome, which is an uneven pair. So after meiosis cell division, the gametes that will be formed here, all the female gametes, they will be homogametic. That means they receives 11 plus X chromosome in each of the gamete. But in case of the male gametes, some of the gametes, that means 50% of the gametes, they will bear 11 plus X chromosome, and 50% of the gametes, because of this heterogametic nature, we can call this to be the heterogametic nature, because here again 11 plus X will be received by some male gametes, and some of the male gametes, they will not receive any kind of sex chromosome. So there it will be only 11 chromosomes, and we write it as 11 plus 0 chromosome. So here also the males are heterogrammatic, but the difference here is that 50% of the male gametes, they do not bear any kind of sex chromosomes here. Now during the act of fertilization, when the female gamete bearing 11 plus X and the male gamete bearing 11 plus X chromosomes, they fuses with each other, then the resultant offspring will be female, because the outcome is 22 plus XX again. And when there is XX in the sex chromosome, so that will always be the female individual. And if the female gamete, that means the egg, it bears 11 plus X chromosomes, and the male gamete, it was with 11 plus 0 chromosome. So that 0, that means the absence of the sex chromosome. So in place of that, we write that 0. So 11 plus 0 chromosome in the male gamete or the sperm. So that results into the offspring, which will be male, because the resultant zygote, it will again bear 22 plus XO. So in this way, in case of this grasshopper, bugs, etc., sex determination is done, that whether the individual will be male or female. And now let's come to the third type, which is called as ZZ and ZW type. This is the third type of sex determination, which is called as ZW, ZZ type. Here the female is heterogrammatic and the male is homogametic. And this type of sex determination, it occurs in case of certain insects and mostly the amphibians, reptiles, birds, and plants like fragaries or fragaria. Here the females, they are labeled as ZW because the females, they have one Z and one W chromosome, and the males, they are labeled as Z chromosomes. This is because in case of females, the two sex chromosomes, they are dissimilar, and in case of males, the sex chromosome, they are similar to each other. So therefore the females here will be heterogrammatic, which is designated with the letters ZW, and the male will be homogametic, which is designated as ZZ. So let's try to learn this with the help of this cross again. So in this mechanism, the ovum determines the sex of the resultant offspring because all the sperms have the similar sex chromosome. Here AA, that is the autosome, and ZW, that is the female sex chromosome, and ZZ, that is the male sex chromosome. Again, as it was studied earlier, that during the time of formation of gamete, here in case of female, there will be two types of gametes, one bearing Z in the gamete and another bearing W in the gamete. Now when the Z bearing female gamete fuses with the male gamete that bears Z sex chromosome, then it gives the resultant offspring as male. And when the female gamete having W as the sex chromosome fuses with the male gamete bearing Z as the sex chromosome, as we know here that the males, they are homogametic. That means all the male gametes, they will be same in nature. So A plus Z, that is the male gamete, and the female gamete, if it bears A plus W, then here in this case, after fusion of these two types of gametes, they will give the resultant offspring as the female, because that is again AA, that is the autosome, and it is ZW, which is the heterogametic nature. So this is different from that of XXXY or XXXO type, because in the earlier two cases the females, they were homogametic, but here there is only difference. This is the only difference, that here the female is heterogametic and the male is homogametic. Otherwise the rest of the crosses, that is very much same. So in this we have found two terms. One is male heterozygosity, and the another term that is introduced here, that is female heterozygosity. As the males in case of human being, they possess two different types of sex chromosome, that is the XY in case of men. So such type of zygotes, that is called as heterozygote. And here the males in case of human being or in case of Drosophila, they bears the phenomenon which is called as male heterozygosity. But in case of organisms such as the birds, amphibians, reptiles, and some fishes, etc., there the females, they bear this heterozygote nature or heterozygous nature. So here the females, they are called, or they show the female heterozygosity, where they bears two different types of gametes. Where they have two different type of sex chromosome in the zygote or in the individual as a whole. So in this way we can determine the sexes of different organisms because of the presence and absence or nature of the sex chromosome. Therefore, after discussing about these three types of chromosomal determination of sex, so here we can conclude here that there can be two types of individuals. So one can be homogametic males or homogametic females, or it can be heterogametic males or heterogametic females. So as for example, in case of plants like Vallisneria, bugs, grasshoppers, etc., here the sex chromosomes, they are unpaired in case of males, and therefore they are regarded as heterogametic males. And in case of man, Drosophila and certain angiosperms, the male sex chromosomes, so they are dissimilar according to their morphology. So in that case also it is regarded as heterogametic males. And when the males are heterogametic, then the females, they are homogametic. And in case of heterogametic females, so there it can be ZW, where the females, they bears two different type of sex chromosome, as in case of moth, fish, birds, reptiles, etc. So in this we find heterogametic females, and in case of that the males, they will become homogametic males. So with this we have learned that today there are two types of chromosomes within the nucleus, and these two types of chromosomes within the nucleus, they expresses for different characters, and on the basis of this sex chromosome, here the sex of a particular organism, it is determined in a particular organism, that whether that individual, it will be male or it will be female. Thank you.